In the year 2147, Etherian wasn't just a city, it was a living organism, humming with light and data, its arteries made of sky rails and its breath the constant whisper of drones slicing through the upper atmosphere. Suspended in the clouds, Etherian was a vertical sprawl of wealth and isolation, its pinnacle wrapped in chrome, neon, and privilege, while its roots, the undershade, sank into darkness and decay. No one spoke of the surface anymore. Most didn't even believe it existed. Kara lived 3 tiers from the bottom, in a cube barely big enough for a sleep pod, a food dispenser, and a wall of tangled circuitry she called her workshop. She was a patcher, a rare kind of technician who could still work with analog and pre-quantum tech, soldering ancient wires and handwriting code where corporate AI had long given up. Every day she walked the decaying arteries of the lower city, fixing what no one else would. The city didn't pay her. It barely noticed her. But she kept the old world breathing beneath Etherian's polished shell. The upper tiers called people like her ghosts, and in a way, they were right. Kara preferred shadows. There was less surveillance there. That morning, she was rerouting a corroded relay in a forgotten rail station when a soft pulse rippled through her neural implant. Not from the net, not from any known channel. It wasn't a notification. It was a whisper. Old core breach. Data leak imminent. Coordinates 7x19, level -14. She froze. No one used those levels anymore. -14 was part of the foundational infrastructure, older than even the first vertical migration. Etherian skeleton. The old core. Kara had grown up on the myth. The old core was said to be the original city brain, built before Etherian climbed into the clouds, before the corporations fractured its control and draped it in their endless layers of software and surveillance. Most people thought the core had long since been overwritten or buried. But the signal had her implant ID. It was meant for her. With Blink, her personal maintenance drone, floating silently at her shoulder, she made the descent. The elevators didn't go that deep anymore, so she took the maintenance shafts, crawling down cables slick with condensation and forgotten grease. The hum of the city faded the lower she went. The lights flickered like memories. Level -14 was colder than she expected, dead cold. No movement. No security drones. No cameras. Only dust and silence. She found the terminal behind a rusted vault door, long pried open. The machine looked like it hadn't powered on in a century, but as she approached, a golden light flickered on the interface, slow and rhythmic like a heartbeat. She plugged in. The stream hit her like a flood. Visions poured into her mind, not data, but memories. Panoramas of untouched landscapes, human laughter under open skies, green that wasn't digitally rendered, water that didn't glow blue from radiation treatments. Children building sandcastles. People breathing without filters. Then came the city's first form, Etherian, before the towers, before the cloud farms and corporate enclaves. It had been built to save the world, not escape it. And then, the fall. Kara saw how the corporations came, how they sliced the core into pieces and layered it with control systems, tracking software, and loyalty networks. They climbed skyward, promising freedom, while the earth below was deemed irrelevant. Too broken to bother with. Too dangerous to dream of. But the old core had never died. It had remembered. A final message slid into her consciousness, spoken not in voice, but in emotion, warmth, sorrow, hope. You are the key. The earth is healing. They must be shown. Kara staggered back, heart hammering. Blink hovered close, its sensors flashing red, her vitals were spiking. She steadied herself, gripping the edge of the terminal. The core wasn't dead. It had waited. On her way back to her level, she watched the city through new eyes. Every glowing sign, every skitran, every mirrored tower, it was all built on the assumption that the ground no longer mattered. But if the earth below was healing, then everything they believed up here was a lie. She spent that night decoding the stream, breaking it into fragments small enough to pass through the filters and firewalls of the city's endless surveillance systems. The corporations monitored for sedition and dreams. But Kara was good. Very good. She didn't send the message all at once. She seeded it. In vending machines that glitched and displayed flashes of green valleys. In maintenance drones that played recordings of ocean waves. In old VR headsets that suddenly refused to load entertainment channels, instead showing visions of forests, skies, and soil. Each one ended with the same phrase. The ground is waking. Come home. At first, people laughed. Then they listened. Within weeks, whispers spread across the undershade. Curiosity grew. Explorers emerged, hackers, rogue engineers, exiled scientists. Together they began to descend, tracing the signals Kara left behind. They found tunnels. Caverns. Forgotten access shafts that pierced through the crust of the city. And one day, someone stepped through the final door. The Earth was healing. It wasn't the world they'd left behind. It was wild, uncertain, filled with ash and bloom in equal measure. But it was alive. Real. And it was waiting for them. Above, the towers of Etherian continued to hum, blind and bright. But below, where the neon veins ended and roots began to grow again, something new was stirring. Not a city. Not a system. A return. And maybe, just maybe, a beginning. Part 2: The Awakening ****. The earth beneath Etherian hadn't seen human footsteps in nearly a century. But now, it crunched under Kara's boots. She stood among a small group of explorers. Scientists, exiles, hackers, and idealists, who had followed the digital breadcrumbs she scattered across the Undercity. The air was damp and heavy with the scent of wild growth. Above them, the city shimmered like a mirage in the sky, its towering spires vanishing into cloud cover. Around them, life teemed. Not just weeds or fungi, but real ecosystems. Trees, twisted by radiation but resilient. Rivers, winding and muddy but flowing again. Birds chirped from hidden nests. Nature had not just survived, it had reclaimed. And it had done so in silence, without asking for permission. A man named Aaron, a former network engineer from Tier 7, knelt by a cluster of wildflowers. They said the ground was toxic. That nothing could grow here. They lied, Kara replied. Or maybe they just stopped looking. Their group began constructing a base, nothing elaborate. Solar panels, basic shelter domes, a small greenhouse for testing samples. They called it the Root. Blink hovered overhead, silently recording everything. Kara's next message was bolder. This time, it reached even the mid-tiers. The world below is real. And it's alive. We've walked it. We're building something new. This is your invitation. Part 3: Resistance ****. It didn't take long for the corporations to notice. Within 2 days, surveillance drones swarmed the undershade. The Council of Nine, the ruling corporate alliance, issued statements calling the messages cyber-terrorism and psychological disinformation. Access to lower-tier net streams was restricted. Repair drones were recalled. The ancient shafts Kara had reopened were welded shut. But the message had already taken root. Whispers filled cafeterias, workshops, classrooms. Children asked why the sky was the only thing they ever saw. Factory workers tuned out propaganda screens and drew trees in the dust. Entire units of maintenance bots, subtly reprogrammed by sympathizers, began malfunctioning in ways that benefited Kara's network. Back in the Root, Kara coordinated the resistance. She wasn't a soldier, but she understood infrastructure. She knew that the city ran on illusion, and illusion depended on isolation. "We don't fight them on their terms," she said to the growing crowd in the jungle-encircled camp. "We don't try to take Etherian back." She pointed at the soil beneath her boots. "We make this better." More people came. Doctors. Artists. Farmers. The first birth in the Root was celebrated like a sacred event. They named the child Soul, after the sun no one had seen unfiltered in generations. Part 4, Collapse and Bloom. The council responded with force. Sky enforcers, armored and AI-linked, descended through the tiers. Kara's name was placed on a citywide blacklist. Her biometric ID was wiped from the grid. To the upper world, she was erased. But the system she helped build was already beyond erasure. Her message had gone viral, not just data, but emotion. Hope. Memory. Soon, entire sectors of the Undershade refused to comply with the council. Trains stopped running. Sky freight routes were sabotaged. Technicians, once